They say that the greatest deceptions are not those hidden in darkness, but those disguised in plain sight. For 7 years, the greatest threat to my marriage was seated at my dinner table, came to our children's birthday parties, and was introduced to everyone as my husband's closest, most trusted confidant, just a friend named Nicole. I considered Nicole part of our extended family, an honorary aunt to my 2 boys, an essential, comforting presence in our lives. We shared holiday meals, vacation stories, and intimate, casual moments that made her feel more like a sister than a friend of my husband. I felt a sense of security in their bond, believing it was a testament to Alex's loyalty and emotional maturity. The kind of man who could maintain a decades-long, strictly platonic friendship with an attractive woman. The truth, when it surfaced, was so vast, so calculating, that it retroactively poisoned every moment of our 7 years together, transforming my beautiful life into a meticulously constructed lie. My husband Alex hadn't just been maintaining an affair, he'd been maintaining an entirely separate, secret family structure, disguising his shame, his paternal guilt, and his son behind the shield of that supposedly innocent friendship. My name is Sarah, and I met Alex when I was 28. He was 30, a charming, solid, reliable partner, an architect with a promising career. He was honest, or so I believed, about his past, which included a few serious relationships but no major entanglements. We built a beautiful, stable life quickly. Within 2 years, we were married in a large, joyous ceremony, and soon after, our 2 wonderful sons, Liam, now 5, and Ethan, now 3, arrived, filling our suburban home with noise and laughter. Alex was a phenomenal father, the kind who was active, present, and devoted. He was the one who woke up for the early morning feedings, who built the elaborate Lego towers, and who never missed a single doctor's appointment. Our life was comfortable, conventional, and seemed built on an unshakable foundation of honesty and love. The only shadow, the only slightly odd element in our perfect picture, was Nicole. Alex introduced me to her 6 months into our relationship, explaining that she was his college friend, his sounding board, and the person who knew him better than anyone, especially about his youthful ambitions and his struggles with his emotionally distant parents. Nicole was attractive, reserved, and always, pointedly, single. She worked as a high-powered marketing executive and lived 2 hours away in a different metropolitan area, a convenient distance that kept her integrated but not intrusive. She would visit regularly, always with a clear itinerary, a small gift for me, and a professional distance that confirmed the platonic nature of their bond. I never once felt threatened by her. She was too much like family, too integrated into our platonic sphere. I even confided in her about my own marital anxieties, completely unaware that she was the ultimate source of them. The first crack in this facade appeared subtly a year ago, when Alex's company moved his division to a new campus, shifting his job from downtown to a suburban office 45 minutes away, a considerable commute change. Coincidentally, almost immediately after Alex finalized his office move, Nicole announced that she, too, was moving. She bought a small, modest house in the exact same suburb as Alex's new office. "What a coincidence!" Alex exclaimed, rolling his eyes with practiced ease when I questioned the timing. "Now I'll be able to see her for lunch sometimes and stop by after work." I found it odd, the timing suspiciously perfect, but again, I trusted him. It was just another example of their uncanny lifelong bond. My dismissiveness, I now realize, was fueled by my unwavering trust in my husband. The real earthquake began with our eldest son, Liam. Liam was starting kindergarten, and after agonizing over school districts, we finally settled on a highly rated public school near our home. 2 weeks into the school year, I was volunteering at the school's welcome fair, helping with the book drive, when I saw Nicole. She was talking to a teacher near the sign-up desk, a protective hand resting on the shoulder of a little boy who looked to be exactly Liam's age. The boy had the same distinctively strong brow, the exact deep shade of blue in his eyes, and the same unusual hairline as my husband, Alex. My heart seized in my chest with a cold, terrifying grip. It wasn't just a resemblance, it was an undeniable genetic echo. I walked over, forcing a casual smile, my voice thin and tight. "Nicole, I didn't realize your sister had a child in this school." Nicole turned, and for the first time in 7 years, I saw true, raw, and utterly exposed panic flash across her face. It was gone instantly, replaced by a strained, icy composure that failed to hide the tremor in her hand as she gripped the boy's shoulder. "Sarah, what a surprise. No, this is my godson, Lucas. His mother is a client of mine who travels extensively, and I handle his school arrangements for her." The lie was clumsy, poorly executed, and completely out of character for the usually unflappable Nicole. I looked at the boy, Lucas. He was undeniably a carbon copy of my husband's side of the family. He didn't just look like Alex. He looked like a miniature version of Alex's late grandfather, a detail only someone who had studied Alex's family albums would know. I couldn't breathe. The air in the gymnasium felt thick and suffocating. I knew with a certainty that sliced through all rational doubt that I was staring at my husband's secret son. I left the fair immediately, mumbling a hurried excuse to the headmistress about sudden emergency. I drove home in a cold, sick sweat. The image of Lucas's face burned into my mind, overlapping with the childhood photos of Alex I had seen countless times. The moment I got home, I went straight to our fireproof safe, pulling out the old family photo albums. I found a picture of Alex at age 6, grinning gap-toothed at the camera. I held it next to a recent photo of Lucas I had quickly, furtively snapped on my phone at the fair. They were the same child, separated by 30 years. The coincidence of Nicole living near us, the coincidence of our sons attending the same small, specific school, was not a coincidence at all. It was the endpoint of a calculated 7-year plan. I waited for Alex to come home, sitting at our dining room table, the 2 photographs laid out like evidence in a criminal trial. When he walked in, whistling a tune and asking about my day, I didn't say a word. I simply pointed to the 2 faces. He looked down, and the whistling stopped instantly. His face went immediately white, the blood draining from his features until he looked gray and sickly. The charming facade, the devoted father, the trustworthy husband, all of it cracked and crumbled in that single agonizing moment. He didn't deny it. He sank onto a dining room chair, his head in his hands, his posture collapsing under the weight of years of deliberate deception. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just knew the secret was finally out. "Tell me the truth, Alex," I finally said, my voice dangerously low, stripped of all emotion. "Who is Lucas, and why does he look exactly like you? And why is Nicole using my son's school as her hunting ground?" Alex finally looked up, his eyes bloodshot, filled not with sorrow for my pain, but with a paralyzing, animalistic fear of exposure and financial ruin. "He's my son, Sarah," he whispered, the words barely audible, the official commencement of my life's destruction. "Lucas is my son, and Nicole isn't just a friend. She's his mother. I demanded to know the timeline. When was this? A fling before me? A drunken mistake? I was desperate for a contained, singular moment of betrayal I could possibly forgive. It wasn't before you, Sarah. It was before college," he confessed, the scope of the deception immediately ballooning to a decade-plus lie. He explained that Nicole and he had been high school sweethearts, a serious, committed young relationship. Just before he left for college across the country on a prestigious full scholarship, Nicole discovered she was pregnant. Alex, a driven, ambitious young man whose entire future was mapped out by his demanding, wealthy parents, panicked. "My father would have disowned me, Sarah. I had everything riding on that scholarship, my career, my entire future. I couldn't risk it." He convinced Nicole to keep the pregnancy a complete secret from his family and his college friends. He promised her he would support her financially, a steady, generous monthly stipend. But he could not stay. He fled to college, effectively abandoning her to raise their son alone. Nicole, fiercely proud and unwilling to abort or rely solely on him, agreed to raise Lucas alone, maintaining the story that the father was a nameless student she met in the city. The betrayal was not the teenage mistake. It was the continuous, calculated lie he wove from that day forward. "But why did you stay friends? Why did you integrate her into our lives?" I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief and a growing physical sickness. He explained that Nicole made a demand. She would never publicly expose him, but he had to be an active, if secret, presence in Lucas's life. He funded Lucas's life entirely, but maintained the friendship to justify his frequent, substantial financial transfers and his regular involvement to me and to everyone else. Our relationship, our marriage, became the perfect bulletproof cover for his secret, ongoing paternal life. He was able to be a father to Lucas under the guise of being a supportive friend to Nicole. Every visit, every late-night call, every trip she took, it was all about Lucas, he confessed. He would take Nicole's godson out for private days, claiming he was helping Nicole with her family duties. The 2-hour distance was the perfect buffer until he decided he needed more. The move to our suburb wasn't a coincidence. It was a deliberate, calculated step to increase his secret involvement with Lucas once my boys were older and he felt his life with me was secure. He wanted to transition from secret father to casual, visible mentor. He wanted both lives simultaneously. The sickness in my stomach was now a burning fury. The truth was a psychological labyrinth, confirming that Alex hadn't cheated on me in the physical sense, but he had cheated me out of 7 years of emotional honesty and financial transparency. I was married to a man who had another, pre-existing paternal identity, and he used my love and trust to safeguard his secret. My sons, Liam and Ethan, were being raised alongside their half-brother by their half-brother's biological father, and I had no idea. The betrayal was not just marital, it was foundational. It questioned the very reality of our family unit. I demanded irrefutable proof. I demanded a DNA test for Lucas immediately. Alex agreed immediately, defeated. The results came back a week later, stark and irrefutable. Alex was Lucas's biological father. The next steps were terrifying and agonizing. I had to confront Nicole, the woman who had sat in my living room, eaten my food, and shared holidays with my family, all while knowing she was the keeper of the most damaging secret of my life. I met Nicole alone at a coffee shop I knew Alex would never frequent. She was expecting the confrontation, having undoubtedly received the panicked call from Alex, but her composure was still unsettlingly icy. "I never meant to hurt you, Sarah," she began, the familiar script of the other woman. I cut her off instantly. "You didn't just hurt me, Nicole. You weaponized my trust. You used my home, my marriage, and my children's belief in you as a cover for your secret life with my husband. Why the continuous lie? Why not just stay away and take the checks?" She leaned forward, her eyes cold. She explained that Alex was the primary financial source, providing more than just child support. He was funding a lifestyle. She was trapped, she claimed, by Alex's demands for absolute secrecy and his financial power. "He wouldn't give me the money unless I kept up the friendship charade," she insisted, pushing the blame entirely onto Alex. He felt guilty, and that guilt was my leverage. But her continued presence, her silent collusion, was equally damning. She had seen me at my most vulnerable. She knew my deepest fears about Alex's workload, and she used that knowledge to protect her own interests. She was a full, willing participant in the fraudulent nature of my marriage. My focus immediately shifted to legal protection and emotional containment. I moved out of the house with Liam and Ethan and immediately filed for divorce. The most painful element was the realization that my sons and Lucas were now attending the same kindergarten, creating an emotional powder keg. I had to protect my children from the public fallout. Liam, my eldest, was already talking about his new friend Lucas, who looks like Daddy and likes the same video games. The divorce proceedings were messy, drawn out, and brutal. Alex, desperate to maintain his reputation and his wealth, argued that Lucas was a mistake of his youth, a forgotten chapter, and he had made amends by supporting him. But the marriage with me was based on genuine love. He tried to hide the vast, continuous financial transfers he had made to Nicole over the years, funneling the money through his business account as consulting fees. My attorney, however, was relentless. We argued that the continuous concealed financial support and the ongoing actively physical relationship with Nicole, physically present in our lives, constituted a marital fraud that superseded the sanctity of our vows. The discovery of Lucas at our son's school and Alex's deliberate relocation to the same suburb was the public, unassailable evidence that Alex was actively trying to integrate his secret life into our established, conventional family life. The court battle culminated in a brutal deposition where Nicole was compelled to testify about the financial structure of her and Alex's relationship. She admitted that Alex had maintained two separate financial lives, shielding his vast payments to her from our joint accounts and tax scrutiny. She also, under oath, confirmed that Alex had told her he felt trapped by our family life and that being a friend to Lucas was his only escape. This was the devastating psychological final blow. Our marriage wasn't his sanctuary, it was his cage, and his secret life with his son was his true respite. He hadn't been an absent father to Lucas. He had been a present but deceitful husband to me. The judge, clearly appalled by the decades of calculated fraud and the intentional integration of the secret family into the legitimate family's life, ruled overwhelmingly in my favor. I received the marital home and significant financial compensation, categorized as compensation for emotional distress and the fraudulent nature of the marriage's foundation. The divorce wasn't just a legal separation, it was a total restructuring of two families and an enforced demolition of Alex's professional and personal reputation. Alex was forced to tell his parents the full, agonizing truth about Lucas. His father, true to Alex's youthful fear, was initially furious, but the realization that he had a grandson softened his stance over time. Lucas, now aware of his paternal identity, was thrust into a confusing new world of wealthy, demanding grandparents he never knew he had. I made a difficult but necessary decision. I would not allow Alex's deceit to separate my sons from their half-brother. I sat down with Nicole and, setting aside my profound anger, proposed a structured co-parenting plan focusing solely on the boys' welfare. I told her that Liam and Ethan deserved a relationship with their half-brother and that Lucas deserved to know his siblings. Nicole, now financially secure from the generous divorce settlement and the official child support Alex was required to pay, agreed. The focus had to shift from the calculated betrayal of the adults to the emotional well-being of the children, who were innocent bystanders in a war they didn't start. We drew up a formal agreement enforced by the court that allowed the boys to spend time together, rotating between our homes, creating a strange, complex, but ultimately honest version of extended family. My own emotional recovery was a long, arduous process. I felt foolish, blind, and deeply betrayed. The realization that I had shared my home, my family, and my deepest secrets with the woman who knew my husband's most devastating secret was a persistent, ugly thought. I went to therapy, focusing on rebuilding my sense of judgment and reclaiming my own narrative. The years I spent trusting Alex weren't wasted, but my trust was certainly misplaced. I realized that my mistake wasn't in marrying him, but in allowing my trust to become so absolute that it blinded me to the glaring inconsistencies in his life. I began to scrutinize my memories, searching for the small tells, the missed cues, the moments where the facade almost cracked. The late-night texts, the sudden trips Nicole took, the way Alex always insisted on picking up the tab when we went out, all were now viewed through the chilling lens of deception. Alex, now living alone in a sterile downtown apartment and paying substantial child support for both sets of children, is a hollow shell of the charming man I married. He sees Liam and Ethan regularly, and he now sees Lucas openly, finally fulfilling the role he had secretly craved. He finally got what he always wanted, an integrated paternal life. But he lost the woman who gave him the comfortable, stable platform to achieve it. He lost the only person who genuinely loved him, believing him to be the good, honest man he pretended to be. He achieved his lifelong dream of being a public father to his secret son, but he did so at the cost of the integrity of his entire life. The last time I spoke to Alex was during the final mediation over the house contents. He asked me, with genuine confusion, "Why did you have to destroy it all?" "I gave you a good life. I was always there for you." I finally gave him the honest answer he was incapable of comprehending. "You weren't there for me, Alex. You were here for Lucas. You used our marriage as a cover story for your guilt, and you used my love as collateral. You didn't give me a good life. You gave me a stable lie, and I am done living lies." I realized then that his love was real, but it was subordinate to his fear and his ambition. His love for me was conditional on my ignorance. The final irony of the entire situation was the elementary school. The place that exposed the lie became the unlikely center of a new, complex family arrangement. I often see Nicole at school pickup, our interaction strained but civil. We are bonded by two things: our shared children and the deep, profound betrayal of one man. We are no longer friends, but complicated co-parents forced to navigate a shared tragedy. We've created a strange, messy tapestry of family stitched together from the remnants of a lie. My sons now know they have an older half-brother. They play together, oblivious to the decades of deceit that brought them into the same orbit. The pain of the betrayal is still there, a dull ache beneath the surface, but the clarity is stronger. I am no longer Sarah, the naive wife. I am Sarah, the mother who protected her children, the woman who chose truth over comfort, and the person who rebuilt her life from the ground up. My husband's best friend was his greatest deception, and the beautiful irony is that his secret son became the most honest, complicated gift of my newly reclaimed life. I learned that sometimes the family you thought you had to protect is the family that was protecting a lie all along. And the greatest act of love is sometimes the one that tears down the walls of deception to allow the light of truth to shine through. I am finally free, standing on my own, and ready to face a future built on genuine honesty no matter how imperfect.